Hi there, Jeeva Corja. Good evening to you. If you're in this part of the world, good morning to you or good afternoon to you. Welcome to another Fireside Chat. This is Eimear Burke here, coming to you brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. So just type in your name and let me know where you're from. Hi, Lisa from Washington, from Utah, Luna Fire Oak. How are you? Hi, Stefan. Lovely to see you. Hi, Jamie from Ohio. Lovely to see you too. So where have we got? Hi, Blake. And there's Shanti from New Zealand. I'm very impressed getting up so early to listen to this. And there's Texas and Montreal. And hi, Shanda from Oklahoma and Ava from Belgium. Lovely to see you all here. Great. And Perry from BC and Frederic from France. Lovely. And John from Ipswich. Great. Lovely to see you. And a very, very happy autumn equinox. So say Banachti, Conach the Nor, Jeev Galer, happy Alban Elfed. So lovely to see you all. And we've got Philip from Scotland. Wonderful. And Gunter from Switzerland and Sue from Norfolk. And that's really interesting because we are going to Norfolk this evening. And let me introduce you to my guest this evening, and it's Chrissie Kimber.
Hi.
Hi, Chrissie. You're so welcome.
Hi, I'm delighted to be here. Terrified as well. And nice to know Sue's here and Shanda and Blake, who, all know me.
Great. Can you plug in there's a bit of an echo. I don't know if you can hear it. People hear an echo. If you just plug in your speakers, maybe just make sure that they're on.
Yeah, I've just done that. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah. No, there's still I don't know what happens. It didn't a few minutes ago, but sometimes this when there's a shift that you have no echo here. Thanks, Katie. That's all right then. I'll just put up with it. So, Chrissie, it's so lovely to have you here.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long I've known you. I probably met you at a Druid Gorset, wasn't it?
No, we met slightly before that. It was the first celebrants 4-day course that Philip put on, and River was there, and you and Paul and a few others.
That's right. That was 2014. Actually, it was this time in 2014. It was around the equinox.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So, just tell us about where you are and I know I've been to Norfolk once. Tell me what it's like, or tell our audience what it's like, should I say?
Norfolk is really beautiful, really quiet. It takes 2 hours longer to get to Norfolk than anywhere else. So if your sat nav said 5 hours, add another 2 hours, it will take 7, as I think you discovered when you tried to get here. And what's beautiful about it is it's really flat, and you get 360-degree skies. So our grove's called the Big Sky Grove because you can turn around and you get sky, every landscape is sky. There's no mountains. And I live by the coast, so I get Broads. So there's a lot of water around here. And I'm on chalk and flint. So it amazed me when I first discovered I was on chalk and flint, because where I was born, which is near London, was also chalk and flint. So I seem to have ended up in an area that's the same as what I was born on. So amazing, really. I didn't know.
Well, I remember when we were at the Gorset the Gorset in Norfolk, we were given pieces of flint. Now, my sound is funny. I'm just going to check why there's an echo. My mic's in front of me. I don't know. I'm just going to check. Just excuse me, everybody, while I do this. I have echo cancellation. I don't understand why it's like this. And it's stopped now. Oh, no, it's back again. I think maybe, Chrissie, if you can mute while I'm speaking, that might help a little bit, just to see.
How do I do that?
Bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a little icon that says mute.
No. Oh, there's a
The
mic.
That's the one. Just click on that. Now the echo's gone. Okay. So anyway, so we're going to have to going back and forth. So there's no echo now because you're on mute. So there's something, I'm not too sure what it is. Anyway, I'm no techie. I'm familiar with lots of technical breakdowns and things, but not so familiar with the solutions. Apologies for that. Okay, so some people find the sound will be fine now because it sounds okay to me. I don't hear any echo. So yes, it was lovely to get these gifts of flint. So what's chalk and flint like in terms of a landscape?
You don't actually notice it. I mean, there's a chalk reef just out to sea, which you don't actually see. We don't have cliffs as such. So we haven't got like the White Cliffs of Dover, which you'd obviously see the chalk. When you walk on the beach, sometimes you can see some chalk underneath, and you don't actually notice the flint because we've got a very clayey soil. But where I walk in the woods, some of the stones have come up to the surface. So yeah, you get some stones there, but it's not obviously really rocky or really chalky. It's quite hidden.
Okay. And oh, can you mute again? Sorry about this. The most famous person I know of from Norwich is Julian of Norwich. And I know her prayer, all will be well. Yes, I know a chant. All will be well, all will be well, and all manner of things will be well. And it's really, really interesting because she lived in a cell that I think she'd locked herself in for years, and she would speak through a window to the community, and they would give her food through this window. So I remember in the Fellowship of Isis, our steward, Cressida, she often invokes and talks about Julian of Norwich and said, she was a great role model for being in lockdown.
I've never been to where it was in Norwich. It's too close to home. You know how it is. You live too close, you don't go and visit these places. So, no, I don't know. Not something I've done. I need to have somebody visit me, and then maybe I'll take them.
Anyway, when I was at the Druid Gorset, we didn't have time because we were, like you're saying, taking 2 hours longer to get there. Driving from, I think Paul and I think it was from Stansted, I think. It would have been lovely to stop and have time, but anyway, such is the way with these things, we didn't. But again, for another time. But it's your. I found the landscape was very interesting because it's very, very, very flat, and you don't have many landmarks. And I come from the bog, and I remember getting lost on the bog once. And you think, well, you can't get lost. Everybody will see you because everything is flat. But you don't have any landmarks. So you can go, on little pathways round and round in circles. And I thought that, Norfolk was very like that too when we went out walking.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if it was you or somebody else. They said, how do you know where you are? We've got no mountains to give you a guideline of where to turn. But, I don't know if that was you or somebody else. But, yeah, I like it.
Oh, it's absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's just a very different landscape, and it's so lovely to be able to live in a place or in a country. And I suppose most countries are like this, that you have that variation in the landscape, and how that, I think, has an impact on you. Does a flat landscape, what impact does that have on you? What does a mountainous landscape have on you? How does it help create you in some way? I don't know. Do you have any comment on that?
Well, where I was born was the Chiltern Hills, so I do miss the hills. And I drove to Wales 2 weeks ago now. And as soon as I got into the hills, I went, "Oh, this feels more like home." But yeah, I like the flat, but yeah, I do miss my hills.
Now you're a walker, so and you're, what would you say, a pilgrim walker? So just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, when I first moved in with my sister, she said, let's go for a holiday walking. So I said, no, I don't see that. And the first holiday we went, she said, just 4 days. And we went to the Cotswolds. And in those 4 days, I was hooked. And we came home because we hadn't booked any longer. And I said, we've got to go back. And the next week we went back for longer. And we finished the Cotswold Way. So the Cotswold Way was the first long distance walk I did. And it's quite difficult because you have to book up B&Bs for how long you think you're going to walk that day. We've got 2 dogs, so you have to have places that accept dogs. We don't carry all our stuff. I'm of a certain age now where I don't want to have to carry my sleeping bag, and I don't want to sleep rough. So when we did the coast to coast route, we often met people who said, oh, you're not doing it properly, because we didn't sleep outside. And when we'd finished at the end of the day, we got down into a nice bed and breakfast, and we had a bath, and we had breakfast the next day, and we all refreshed for the next day. So yeah, I've done coast to coast of England, Fort William to Inverness in Scotland, the Offa's Dyke in Wales. I've walked the Inca Trail into Machu Picchu, so that was 4 days. Oh, and we just love walking holidays. So we're going to walk around Anglesey next year. It's just so nice. You just get away from everything. Very often you're where your mobile phone won't work. You don't have anyone talking to you. I mean, the only conversation my sister has is, when's the next cup of tea? So I ignore her. I've listened to podcasts. I remember listening to Druidcast on one walk, and I'd get through about 6 months in one day. So that's quite nice that I got half a year of different podcasts. And then the next day I'd have the next 6 months. And I think I did about 5 years in one long walk. That was quite good. So thanks, Dave, for that. It was nice to Druidcast. And just to get away from everybody, we were looking after elderly sick parents for some of these walks, and it was just nice to get a real break away and just relax and not have to worry about anything, just one foot after another. And because they're linear walks, you have a real sense of achievement that you've started at the beginning, and each day you get further and further to where you're hoping to end up at the end. And the real achievement of having sometimes battled against the elements and walking sometimes thigh deep in puddles to get to where you need to go to, or on the side of mountains. I mean, in Machu Picchu, I suddenly realized I had panic attacks because some of the bridges we had to get over, and you're really high up, and I don't like heights anyway. And the handrail was dangling off down into a ravine somewhere, so you had nothing to hold on to. And there were gaps in the wood, and my sister would always go first. And one day she said to me, she said, breathe. I hadn't realized I hadn't been breathing all the way across the bridge. And then after that, I used to have mantras. It's very safe and it's very wide. It's very safe and it's very wide. So that I would get myself across these bridges. So it was finding ways of coping mechanisms to help you get over things that you didn't even know you had fear of in the first place. So yeah.
That sounds so scary. And it's really interesting. If you're walking on the road, you don't take up a lot of space. But as soon as you know it's limited and that there's a drop below, it becomes really, really narrow and really, really scary. And it's great to be able to, talk yourself out of that, or talk yourself into being strong enough to getting across and to achieve it. And it's really interesting to have these walks. People here are just saying it's, to make you fit, and appreciating your relationship with the land and the seasons and the weather. But there's also that personal challenge to overcome, like you say, fears you didn't know you had, well, because you weren't confronted with them, and how you manage that and engage with that and navigate your way with that. So it's more than just walking, and more than just saying, well, I went from A to B. It's a much more profound experience. I climbed Kilimanjaro when I was 47. And I had tried Mount Kenya when I was 23, and I got altitude sickness and just got petrified, and I couldn't go up the top. And I had a huge sense of failure. And then I said at 47, I managed it. And it was such an amazing experience. and leaving all my, the chatter in my head, the negativity, all the battles, the hang-ups. I was told, leave them at the bottom of the mountain. They'll be waiting for you when you come back. And being able to do that and focus on one step at a time. And it was in September. So I remember doing an equinox ritual on the mountain and engaging with the spirit of place. And to be able to do that was just amazing and a real challenge,
When I was doing the coast to coast, it rained and it rained and it rained. And I was actually working through water on the Bardic grade at the time. Who'd know? Yeah.
Yes, Blake says we have a few local special trails we go on in all 4 seasons. One can really connect with the place when you traverse it in all seasons. And that's right, because you're seeing the different faces of it. Can't do that with far off places, but it's nice exercise for those close to home spots. And it's really interesting, you sometimes see it on Facebook where people photograph the same place, every day for a year. And you're looking at how it appears. And I think that is absolutely fascinating to be able to engage with the place in all of its seasons rather than, this is the best time or this is a time of beauty, and to experience the challenges that has.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have to take my walks during holidays, prescribed holidays. And so it would often be July, but that didn't guarantee good weather in England. So, yeah. And you do appreciate the scenery. I mean, when you do get good weather, you appreciate the scenery even more. So,
absolutely. So Shanti said, it sounds incredible. My family and I are beginning the Rootburn Trail early next year. I don't know if that's in the UK. It'll be my first trail, so I've already started the training.
Yeah, during lockdown, my sister was quite poorly. She's one of the vulnerable people, so she wasn't getting out very much. So I'm trying to get in training now for Anglesey because that's going to be 12 miles a day for 2 weeks. Yeah. And at the moment, she's only doing 2 miles a day. So, yeah, I've got a nagger to get into training. I got up to 8 miles a day, so I've still got a bit to do. So,
brilliant.
Miles a day, yeah. But it's, if it's too hot, I don't like walking. Don't like it too hot. So I'm going to Anglesey in March and it'll be wet. I can guarantee it'll be wet.
Okay. So it says Rootburn is in the South Island of New Zealand. Okay. I've only been to the north. So do you have a sense of pilgrimage, that when you're doing your walks? I mean, I suppose some of them are old pilgrim routes, are they?
Yeah, we did the Ridgeway one year. It was actually during my ovate, and part of my ovate gift was to walk part of the St Mary and Michael line because it was in Touchstone at the time. Penny was trying to build up a group of druids all the way from St Michael's all the way to Hopton, which is in Norfolk, which is the Michael and Mary line. And it just so happened that year I was going to be walking the Ridgeway. And that was very much a pilgrimage. And right at the beginning, we're at Avebury, and my sister and I sat in the middle of Avebury is where all the stones are. There's a big stone circle. And some of them are right in the middle of the town. And I was being quite respectful of the stones. And I sat down by the side of the stones with my back to them, these ancient stones. And my sister, being my sister, and I'm quite a muggle, she just sat on them. And we stood up to go, and a pin jagged her right in the middle of her thumb, and there's blood everywhere, and it went all over the stones. I said, there you go, they had their blood sacrifice. So she likes stone circles and things, but she's not she doesn't, I don't think I revere them, but she doesn't have the same respect for them. But yeah, it's it was, but the pilgrimage part of it is, I think, a discovery of myself and my relationship with the land, and just to get away from our social world as we are now. I mean, I'm reading a book at the moment called The Last American Man by somebody Gilbert, I've forgotten her first name. And it's a true story of Eustace, who lived in a teepee and caught his own food and made his own skins. I'd love to do that. I'd really love to do that, but I don't know if I've got the yeah, I also like my central heating and my cooker. And yeah, I don't know if I could really do it, but I like the idea of it. And going on these walks is like a pilgrimage, getting back to basics where you have only got your own stamina to keep you going, really. And that when it gets so you feel, I've had enough now, and you only got, I mean, when we was on Offa's Dyke, it was Easter, and there's snow up to the top, about 6 foot of snow. And we did a walk one day, which should only have taken about an hour, 2 hours. And all we had with us, well, we'd had a cup of coffee in a cafe before we started off. So we had the biscuit from the side of the cup of coffee, and I had a bottle of water. That was it. That's all we had, because it was going to be a short walk. But we ended up on the top of the snow, and the snow was higher than the brick walls, so you had no guidance of where you were. And if you got off of the top of the brick walls, so you were in the path that you normally walk on, but of course then you went up to your neck in the snow, so you had to be walking on. And it took us it was 4 or 5 hours, and we still hadn't finished, and we was exhausted. And we found this stone circle wasn't on the map at all. We sat on a stone circle and said, I've had enough. And we just sort of breathed and but we've got to carry on. We've got to get back to where the car is. And we stood up, and funny enough, we were energized again after being in that stone circle. The energy that must have been there from whenever and she said, Michael's sister, she told me, I feel so much better now. I said, so do I. I said, it must have been that stone circle. And she said, yeah, it could have been. So yeah, amazing.
That's a beautiful story. That's really, really fascinating, because you think of the trial of it is, because essentially you're falling into snowdrifts, if you're not on the wall, and then to have that energy being energized from the stone circle, beautiful. And what a gift, because you said like it was off the map, but somehow it came to you, or you found it, discovered it as a gift from the land.
Well, I sometimes wonder if I drop into a parallel universe sometimes. Just these things happen. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
You go through a threshold sometimes, and things that aren't there are there. It sounds a bit mad, wacky, maybe. Yeah.
No, I've heard people explain things like that. Something appeared that hadn't been there before and wasn't there again, and you kind of go, okay. There's some things we just cannot explain, but we, I suppose, respect the mystery of it, and be grateful for the fact that you did encounter the stone circle to energize you. Who knows? So do you have a daily practice?
When I get up every morning and I open the curtains, I say, it's going to be a great day today. And sometimes if I think about it, I do the standing, I can't remember which grade it was in, but you stand and you just do the breathing, 9 breaths or whatever. And when I'm walking, very much every day, I walk every day, very much appreciating. So that's a practice as such, and getting in touch with the land, what's under my feet. Sorry, my dog wants to say hello. She might come up in a minute. Yeah, so it's sort of a practice as such as just knowing where I am in time and space, but not a practice in that I go to deity at all, or I don't actually do deity that much. I used to say at one time I didn't do deity at all, but it's gradually changing. Yeah, so no, I don't have a daily practice as such, more a ritual that, because our grove does rituals, so it becomes sort of, I have a monthly ritual to do now because I've just dedicated to Caradwyn for a year and a day, so that's going to be a monthly ritual. But yeah, and a ritual once a week, bring us on to another topic, is that I do my mentoring emails, and sometimes that means I might read them as they come in, and sometimes they need a little bit of thinking about. So I'll do my walk and I'll be thinking about the email that I've been written, and I'll breathe into it, and next day I'll sit down and I don't have an idea in my head of what I'm going to write, and all of a sudden it just comes and an answer comes, and sometimes I get a lovely response back saying that's just what I needed to hear, or thank you for that idea, or so I suppose that's a weekly sit down ritual to do those.
So Shanda says, I love you, Chrissie Kimber. So just, I mean, I've had members who are guests on this chat who are mentors, but we never actually talked about it. So what's it like being a mentor? Susie Barnes says you're an awesome mentor. So so what's it like for you, and why did you decide to be a mentor?
I really wanted to give something back to OBOD. I'd got so much from it that come the end of my Druid grade, or even before the end of my Druid grade, I knew I wanted to give something back. And I just love people, and I'm very nosy. And I just thought I can give back by being a mentor. And sorry, you asked another question there, and it's gone. But did you say, what do I get from it? Or something?
What brought you to it?
Yeah, it was just the wanting to give something back that brought me to being a mentor. And although I give something back in that I am a mentor, I get so much more from it. I mean, my Bardic grade, I didn't even ask for a mentor. I didn't read the instructions properly, and I didn't understand that you had to ask for a mentor. I thought, oh, they've just forgotten to give me one. So I didn't have one. And then come the end of the year review, it said you've got to write to your mentor. I thought, I haven't got one. So I had to write for one then. And it might make some of my students, if they're listening, feel a bit happier that I had to put my Bardic review in 5 times. I hadn't written about the Wheel of the Year because the Wheel of the Year was so natural to me. I didn't think I had to write about it because it said, what did you get from the course? Well, I already did the Wheel of the Year because I'd been a witch for so many years. And so I didn't write about that. And there was lots of things I missed out. So 5 times I had to send it in the end. So I passed it eventually. My OVATE review, I think my mentor got fed up with reading it because she said, well, that was in depth, Chrissie. I was determined I wasn't going to fail that one. Fail it. It's not a fail.
No.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were a witch. So how did you get into Druidry then? You mentioned that you were a witch for many years. So
well, that was a case of I belonged to a hedge witch group. I mean, most hedge witches work independently, but we got a group of us together, and there was a young girl doing the group with us, and she'd started doing a correspondence course. I used to have the book, I can't remember, I've just given it away. And the girl who was our leader as such, she said, that's a bit worrisome, Chrissie, keep an eye on her, be her mentor as such. And she gave up with that course, and then she went and signed up to OBOD. So I thought, well, I'll sign up to OBOD as well, find out what that is, because I don't know, didn't even know that it existed. And I carried on with the course, and she gave it up. So I got into OBOD through being asked to mentor somebody else. So yeah, I just fell into it. I didn't even know it was there beforehand. And that was way back in 2007. I actually looked it up this morning. I thought, I wonder how long ago it really was. So yeah. And it took me
go on. Sorry.
I was going to say it took me 8 years to get to Druid grade, and then I've gone back to doing all the stuff that I didn't have time to do because I was working when I was studying. So I've gone back and done a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do but didn't have time for during the course of studying.
So I suppose I'm interested. So it was by accident you because if you were mentoring this person, what kept you there?
Oh, I think so many people have said it's like coming home. It really was. It fed something I've been looking for. I mean, when my children were young, I looked into all the different religions I could find, and then none of those really. I mean, everyone knows that, not everyone, but a lot of people here will know that they don't always work for everybody. And then I did an astrology course, I did a tarot course, and I was trying to find answers, and I thought astrology and tarot might give me some answers. that didn't seem to work either. I did Louise Hay, You Can Heal Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I picked up a Hedge Witch book by Ray Beth, and that's when I found these other group of hedge witches. So I fell into those as well, because I was sitting in the staff room, and a girl sitting next to me had a newsletter that had stars and moons and things on it. And I started reading it from a bag, and I said, "Do you mind if I actually read that?" She said, she was the editor for it. She said, "Oh yeah, of course you can read it." I said, "This is really interesting." She said, "Well, we meet once a month." And that was a group of people who just met, all religions met at the Quaker rooms locally, and talked about all sorts of things that were pagan-y and non-pagan-y. But that's where I met the hedge witches. So that's how one of them said to me, "Did I want to go on something, we on chat over coffees and things?" She said, "You sound like a hedge witch, Chrissie. Come and join us." Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, what kind of your creativity? How do you, I suppose, how does your creativity manifest itself in your life, and how do you get the inspiration or the amas or the awan for it?
Yeah, because being a mentor, a lot of people say, "I'm not a poet, I'm not a musician, I'm not a storyteller." And I used to say, "Don't worry about it. I'm not either. I can't." I said, "How you put your coat on can be creative." When I was in the classroom, I used to be creative in how I used to try and get people to understand topics that were difficult for them. And I just make things now. I've just, today I thought, how many things do I make? So I went into making spoons. So a few spoons, different spoons. Bending wire was quite a good thing.
Sorry, what's the bending wire?
Yeah, that's a tree there that's got some gems. That's a tree. Believe it or not, that is a tree. That's my first attempt at bending wire. And then I've got great bracelets, and I've gone into glass making, made some beads, different beads, a different sort of glass making. I'm not very artistic, so the Arwen comes up a lot.
Oh, absolutely. That's very nice.
That's a suncatcher thing. And like I said, I'm not artistic, so wool comes into it. I've made a cushion. So again, the Arwen. The Arwen's very easy to draw.
Is that knitted or crocheted or felted or what?
No, it's not either of those. It is a punch needle. So there's lots of little loops. I don't know if you can see.
Yes.
Lots of little loops there, and it's on a canvas. So that's very easy to do. But what I'm wearing, I made that. This is felt and crochet together. So the material there is felt, which I made, and then crocheted it here. Wood carving again. Oh, this is show and tell, isn't it?
It is.
I carved that. Went to a workshop to learn how to do that. I don't have enough chisels to do that again. There was about 50 different chisels, and yeah, they're expensive. Chisels are really expensive. And I make animals. Oh, I can't see him. I don't know which way to pose him. He needs a bit of tidy up. Yeah, I make things. So yeah, so my creativity is making things. The blanket behind me. There we go.
Oh, lovely.
I crocheted that. Yeah. So, and today, because I was nervous today, I started a new project. So started that today.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. So I was nervous. I had to keep my mind busy. So yeah. So yes, I make things.
Well, Katie Smith says the directional north, south, east, and west wreaths you made are amazing.
Oh yes,
the
one behind me there is east. I don't know if you can see it. I'd have to get up. There's lots of ribbons all tied around.
Beautiful.
Frame. And then yeah. Oh, and that's one of my cloaks there in the background as well. So I've made all my cloaks and robes.
Beautiful. Julia Foyle says, you say you're not very artistic. I disagree. These are wonderful. So you're getting lots of lovely reactions to your your creations. And Shanda calls it fiber meditation.
Yeah, it needed it. But you see, I live with a sister who went to art college, and so she can draw horses and people. She's not very good at hands, and that's the only thing she's not very good at. But she's very clever, and I can't compete with that. Yeah. I don't consider myself that good.
Oh, there's no competition. It's that you express it in your own way. Vincent said, I was a Christian who knew nothing about paganism, yet I was drawn towards Druidism, and it also felt like coming home. Druidism seems to have a beautiful universalism about it. Can you comment on that?
I'd like to say something clever. I really would like to say something clever. I've met quite a few Christian Druids, and I don't know. I think this God and good and nature is all connected, isn't it? It's when you see such beauty all around you, I think we'd like to think that somebody created it for us. I don't know, maybe we do that, but I think everybody can appreciate the magic of the surroundings that we live in. And that's universal. So I think people 5,000 years ago, when they first started to make religion, thought of somebody creating it for them. I don't know. But yeah, that's as clever as I get. Sorry.
Well, I suppose, and like this comes up, I suppose, often within the order, is that, you know, within OBOD, is that there is that space for being a Druid and weaving in whatever other tradition that you come from or that you wish to integrate with it. And there's that, and I think that's beautiful, because then we don't have the dogma. And okay, there may be people who are, we don't, as an organization, we're not fundamentalist. And that's just a lovely space to have to integrate all the traditions. So you come from a witchy one, and Julia Foyle says, my Christian friends often seem more Druid than I am. And Karen Burton says, Chrissie, you're so like me. I am the daughter of an artist and sculptor, so don't class myself as an artist, as I cannot draw like that. But I also craft, crochet, macrame, sewing. I love your wood carving. So Jason says, I'm a Christian but find Druidism fascinating and have really enjoyed learning and listening. That's what it is. And Blake says, I love an OBOD, we celebrate common ground. And I think it's about that, being able to share that. I suppose, and that's part of the homecoming piece, because, well, a home for me is a place where I am welcome and where I feel safe. And I certainly found a second home and a second family within OBOD as well. Yeah,
it's always very welcoming. I think when we was on that celebrancy weekend, there was I can't remember his name now, but he was a vicar, and he said, oh yeah, there's two of them. But
Mark Townsend and Peter Owen Jones.
I think it was Peter Owen Jones. Actually, maybe it wasn't any of those, but it might have been Peter. He said that if he'd been in a room full of Christians, they would have tried to convert him. But this room full of Druids didn't have any need to convert anybody, because that's not what we're there for. We don't need to preach to anybody. We just do our own thing. We're happy with that. We don't need to convert anybody. It's up to the individual. And what I like about OBOD is there's no hierarchy. When I have people join my grove, I say, just because I've got a certificate that says I've got to Druid grade doesn't mean I'm, and in fact it's quite the opposite, I'm not as clever as half the people that are in my grove. And one of the bardic people in my grove, she was there for 14 years on bardic. So she's got far more knowledge than I did about. And as I probably become aware, I'm not very articulate, so it's not the. I need to think about things and I write things down, but I'm not very good at verbalizing things straight away. I'll have a brilliant answer tomorrow for the whatever. And also people have to remember that what I say today isn't necessarily how I'm going to feel in about 5 minutes or 10 minutes or next week. I change. I am. Despite my age, I very much believe in changing. So if somebody says something to me and I might disagree with it today, I might think about it and I might agree with it when I've thought about it a bit more. Or things I use. I mean, I remember writing a project at school once, and I was writing about Elton John because I love Elton John. And there was a song there about whores on the street, which I didn't even know what a whore was particularly. So I had to be taught. And at the beginning, I'd written something which was quite judgmental. And by the end of about a month later, I had to I had to get a piece of paper and stick it over because I'd totally changed my mind. And it was more accommodating and understanding. And that's, so something I say today, if I upset anyone, I'm sorry. I don't think I will, but who knows what comes out of my mouth. I very rarely think first. So, I think I'm still learning. And I think that's what I loved about the OBOD course is I kept learning and learning. And then when the OBOD course had finished, I thought, what can I do next? And I tried to join another Druid group. And they said, so we're going to give it to people first who are less experienced. So after a few rude words, I went in the shower and I think the water helped because it got the emotions. I thought, what do I want? What do I need? And I thought, what I want to talk to people. And what I need is I want them to be near me and I want them to come to me. Instead of me having to travel, I want them to come to me. So I set up a group called Bardic Banter and Druidic Drivel.
Oh, lovely.
And people come and visit me and I feed them and we have a chat and we have a little catch up, and then in the afternoon we have a discussion. So we started off with earth and then we went to air and then fire and water and spirit and then other things and all sorts of. So we've got a meeting next week and we're going to talk about balance because it's the equinox. So we're going to talk about the balance of the year. So I started that, and when our grove at the time disbanded, so that I was still the point of contact in Touchstone, I called the Bardic Banter group a grove. But gradually, as the groves got bigger, there's people that joined it that wanted to do ritual, and I was never really keen on ritual, but I've been persuaded since. The more ritual I do, the more I like it. I think when you came to the Druid Gorse, Seth, I said to you, I didn't know which order these things went in because I didn't do that much ritual. I'm quite happy to go and sit with a tree and talk to a tree and get what energies I can and what energy I can get back to a tree, but I don't necessarily do ritual as such. But that's changing. I'm gradually doing more and liking it more. I don't always I will still feel sometimes it's a bit churchy in that you're doing the same things over. But I'm gradually realizing that builds the energy between a group of people so that it becomes more profound and deep within you when you get to the middle bit where you do the whatever the season is that you're celebrating, and you get to that bit, you suddenly feel, this is coming from here. So that beginning bit got me into that space where I could get here to then do the ritual and speak.
The opening and the closing is the container for the magic to happen within the rite, and that's the something around the familiar. Like this is the cauldron in which, and the safe place and the sacred place that we recognize and that is familiar, and then the magic happens in the rite. There's a number of Sue. I just want to check that I don't. Wait a second. My mouse is acting up a little bit. Sue says, what did she say? An open mind is a changeable mind, and it's a wonderful thing to be open to other ideas. And I think that's really, really important that we have that. And that's something I think within the order that it allows that and encourages it. And I like that, to say, yeah, of course you can be wrong. And it's not that you're fickle, but that you're open to reflection and to change, which I think is really, really important. Who says? Susan says, Sue says, Bardic Banter and Druidic Drivel was your best idea ever, Chrissie.
Thanks, Sue. Yeah, it was a good idea. And it came because somebody told me, no, you can't join our group. So I made a group instead.
Oh, excellent. Absolutely.
Yeah. But learning goes on and on. And like I said, I didn't used to like ritual, and now I'm gradually learning to like it and do more.
Well, I suppose I came from a Roman Catholic background, so rejected ritual. And so if anyone mentioned the word prayer, I would go, or God, or anything like that. And yet I did not want ritual. It was around to find a ritual that was meaningful. Julia says, I totally agree. Solo ritual seems like doing church stuff for me. I'm more comfortable doing ritual with people. There's something around the co-creation of that. You know, where two or three are gathered in the name of spirit, then spirit is there. Where if I'm on my own, I like to sit and be still and sit with the trees, or a connection in that way. But so the order allowed me, it gave me a framework, you know, when I joined first, a framework from which to create ritual. And that's been really, really beautiful. And there's somebody else who prefers, you see, and then again, some people prefer solitary ritual. It's more tailored to the individual. And that's, again, you know, when we get the books, is there's the solo ritual and there's the group ritual. And that you express your druidry in the way that's most meaningful for you. And that's what I love about that freedom within the order to do that and to explore all of that.
Yeah, I always encourage my students when they write their reviews to say the bits they didn't like as well as the bits they did like. I remember one of the bits asked me to revere a tree. I thought, I don't revere trees. I didn't like the word revere. I go up to a tree and I can feel whether it wants me to go and sit with it or whatever. So I don't need to revere it. It doesn't want me to revere it. It doesn't really understand. Well, in my opinion, they don't understand that they're there, I'm there, and sometimes we can share some time together. And also another bit that I didn't like during Bardic was the story of Taliesin. And I thought, if I hear that word Taliesin one more time, I'm going to scream, because it kept coming up. And when I finished the whole of the Druid grade, I joined the Anglesey Order, and there I've learnt to love the Mabinogi stories and Taliesin, and now quite often you'll find me telling the story of Taliesin. So I've totally changed roundabout there.
What changed for you?
I think it was a bit like deity. I didn't understand, and with the Anglesey Order, you become, or you put yourself in the position of every single character in the story. So you are Taliesin, you are Gwion-bach, you are Ceridwen, you are Morda. You become all the people. You're Manwyddan, you're Branwen. You become all the people in the stories, and you put yourself as that. You have those characteristics within yourself. Even Anissian, the horrible, nasty one. We sometimes you'd say, what would Anissian do? And he might do something nasty, and that might be you that day. You might just be in an Anissian mood and, you know, just do something nasty. Hopefully not.
So you mentioned you said you don't do deity, and then later on you said you've now dedicated yourself to Ceridwen for a year and a day. Is that something you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I can talk about that. I said get the Anglesey Order again, and we had a Bardic Banter talk on deity, and after the 2-hour discussion, it became apparent to me that deities are just our human characteristics. So I've been thinking on that for about 5 or 6 years now, I suppose. I've been thinking, yeah, they're just, we put human characteristics to these gods, which we can associate with things that we also do. So the maiden mother crone, they're all stages that I've gone through. So I can see those parts of Ceridwen or the Morrigan inside myself. And maybe some days I feel like the maiden. It doesn't happen so often these days, but Some days I do, and I can recognise the maiden in my granddaughter and appreciate that, and in other people when I see them when they're very young and things, and learning to find the masculine. So I didn't have anything masculine in my house, so I went and got myself didn't make this one, but I wanted a masculine deity as such, and I got Canunus as a cushion. That's as much as I wanted to go with the masculine, but I brought that into the house to get the masculine side of deity there as well. And then this Ceridwen Year and a Day. Well, Chris Hughes, who runs the Anglesey Order, has just written a book called all about Ceridwen, and he had a competition on his page to actually win a copy of the book. I won that competition. I won't tell you how. I could. I put a rude picture up. Well, it wasn't a rude picture; it was a picture of a fork, but it was about going on diets, because Chris Hughes and myself are always on diets, and the fork, instead of it had the F and then the K with the two missing letters in the middle, and it was talking about diets, and you had to put something funny on the Anglesey website page, which was this picture and about diets, and then you also had to advertise his book on your own webpage. So you advertised his book, and so people in the Anglesey Order all did that, and I was the lucky one who won his book. So I thought, oh, this means something. I've won a book about a goddess who I don't normally follow, and I made myself sit down and read it and take notes, and got to understand a little bit more about Ceridwen. And when he said he was going to be doing a camp at Lake Bala, and that it would be dedicating ourselves to Ceridwen, I thought, okay, I'd love to go to Bala. I'd love to spend time in the company of all my Anglesey Order druids. So that was the hook that got me dragged in, and the book. And we did some wonderful rituals, and one of the evening rituals, we actually gave a dedication that we'd written to Ceridwen, and as my piece of paper went into the cauldron and was burnt, I mean, before I went up to that cauldron, my heart was going, I don't know why, it just started to beat ever so hard. And when my dedication went in, my heart dropped, and something in my body just dropped into the earth, and it said, gotcha. So for a year and a day now, she's got me. I don't know what's going to happen. We shall see. Watch this space.
Oh, that's wonderful. Has she swallowed you whole? And will she... I'm just thinking of the got you bit. I just have to think of Ceridwen as the hen.
Indeed, that could very well
got you,
yeah. So maybe in 9 months' time, she'll put me into a coracle for 80 years, and I'll go on the oceans. Who knows? Yeah, who knows? It'd be interesting to find out.
Blake says the gods bide their time, but Ceridwen got you at Bala.
Yes, you did. You certainly did. And it was funny because it was a very similar feeling to when I went to the Anglesey Order. You spend 4 long weekends on the island to... I mean, one of the reasons I joined the Anglesey Order was I got to the end of the Guernsey, and they've you read them, your correspondence course, and I got to the end. I thought, I want to get down and dirty with my druidry now. I want something practical. I want to, which is why Bardic Banter was so good, because we got to talk and we got to do things. And the Anglesey Order was, you had to physically go there. You had to do this pilgrimage to the island. I mean, for me, I live on the East Coast, and Anglesey, you have to drive all the way across Britain. So I live on the East Coast just before you drop into the sea, and Anglesey was all the way west till you drop in the sea. It takes me a whole day to get there. So it's a pilgrimage to get there. And the very first night we're there and we do a ritual, and I had the same feeling then that all my body went down into the island, which is called Mon, the island in and my whole body just felt like it dropped into there. So I'm now a part of me is always on Anglesey, always. Yeah. And that changed me. That whole lot of calls changed me. Yeah.
I find that fascinating when you go to a place that isn't yours and you find that deep, deep connection, like you talk about dropping into the landscape. How you don't have to be from there to feel that connection. So why is that? Is that an ancestral connection? Is it maybe past lives? I've no idea. What do you think?
I think it could. I mean, I'm a real mongrel. I mean, my grandmother was Irish. My maiden name is the capital of Yorkshire in Wensleydale. So, and we've got a kilt, so I've got Scottish blood in there as well. But I'm also a bit French because there's people in my family with the surname Dufresne. So there's some French in there as well. Yeah, so I'm a mongrel. I haven't done my DNA to find out what my ancestry is, but I think, yeah, there are places where you just feel, I know this place. This place knows me, and you feel very comfortable there. So, but I was thinking about ancestry because you often ask a question about what's your legacy as an ancestor, and I've been thinking about this question quite a bit. I mean, I've left my DNA with my sons. I'm a little bit sad that I didn't have daughters because you know how your grandmother had in her womb the egg that your mother and your son. I'm a bit sad I didn't have daughters in that respect, that ancestry isn't there. But when I visited places like New Zealand and Australia and places where the ancestors, I mean, I'm not going to word this very well, but you know when you go to a place of beauty and they say take any pictures and leave any footprints?
Yeah.
It's a bit like in New Zealand when I went there, the only evidence you had that there had been a civilization there was the beautiful hand-painted on the wall that was in stones and caves. You had to have these pictures. But there was no Stonehenge, there was no ugly Edwardian, they weren't ugly Edwardian building. I don't know what an Edwardian building, and there was no Georgian building, no castles, no slums. There was no buildings or monuments from those people of the past, those ancestors. They had only left some paintings on a wall. There was no buildings, there was no teepees, there was nothing. So ancestors don't have to leave physical stuff to leave, I don't know, that atmosphere that you get when you walk the land, that age, those ley lines that call to you. When I walk the Ridgeway, it's the one walk I've done where it felt like a motorway still. There was, and there was people on bikes going really fast, and it felt very busy. Whereas sometimes when you walk the land, you can feel a ley line that people have walked there for ages. And you get that energy, like that stone circle in Wales, you get the energy from the land that's been there since our time began. I think I waffled there. I have no idea what I'm saying anymore.
No, I get that. My sense is that what you're picking up is the resonance that, okay, you may not leave, or the ancestors of wherever may not have left a stone monument or a building, but there is a resonance that you can pick up, I think. You hear it, you feel it, you sense it, and that connection. I can't explain that, but it's something that it's like trying to explain what it's like to be in love. You need to have had that experience to be able to. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not being very articulate about it. But I think it's a resonance.
Yeah, it can be very strong sometimes. I'm not one of those. I mean, when I was with the Hedge Witch group, they could feel more physical energy, and people could see people's auras and things like that. And I don't get that. As I was saying that, I went to Yorkshire just before lockdown, and there was a stone circle. I think it's Old Meg or something like that. And we drove up to it, and we didn't know where the car park was. And there was a road going through the stone circle to their farm. And as I drove through the stone circle, I don't like this, really don't like this. And it felt so wrong. And I was so happy to turn around and come back and found the car park before you got to the Stone Circle in the end. But it was because there was a road there going through to a farmhouse. And that was... So I felt the energy there. I didn't know really what I was feeling, but it just felt wrong to be driving through it. But there was a whole road through it. It's a bit like Avebury. There's a whole town in the middle of the Stone Circle. Weird.
It is. I know I felt a similar thing in... It was a ring fort, a ring of trees on a sacred land, and they put a straight path through it. And I started to walk, and I thought, no, I have to go sunwise. I have to go right around. It just felt wrong. And this wasn't a judgmental head thing that you shouldn't build a stone through that. It was like something was stopping me, and then I had to go around. Karen Burton says Long Meg and her daughter circle near Penrith in Cumbria. Is that the one you're talking about?
Although I often get words wrong, so hopefully that's the one I mean. But certainly, I'm sure it was that one. So, yeah.
So what's Long Meg like, and why is she called that?
I don't know. I probably knew when I went there. I probably read all about it when I was there. One of the things I'm finding with age is I've forgotten more than I know. I don't retain things very well. I have a very good memory, and it soaks things up like a sponge, and it knows it while it knows it. And then if it doesn't use it, it just lets it all go again. So yeah, it's a lovely way to be able to soak things up, but then it lets them go. So my memory isn't as good. And on words and names, yeah, I'm living with it. People who know me know you got that wrong. Okay. Oh yeah, I got that wrong. Yeah.
That's the prize for wisdom.
Oh,
Andrew Newton says the name itself is said to come from a local witch, Meg of Meldon, who was alive in the early 17th century. From a certain angle, the Long Meg stone resembles the profile of a witch. Oh, interesting. Long Meg was a witch with her daughters turned to stone for dancing at the Sabbath. There's a stone circle called the Piper Stones in Wicklow, and I think there's a similar thing that they were all turned to stone for. It could have been something like that.
They all have lovely stories, don't they? When I went to the Orkneys, they have the same thing, that there's one stone that's well out of the circle, and that's a similar sort of story, I think, that somebody was running away, got turned to stone.
Beautiful.
Mm.
So to get back to, and somebody says the Merry Maidens in Cornwall, is that another stone circle? I think Julia's mentioning that. It's fascinating, the stories around these, and yes, and it's there's a stone circle that my stepson, when he was alive, looking at 9 ladies in Derbyshire, and they spent 9 years protesting against a quarry that wanted to set itself up, and they won, which is really, really interesting. And these are small little these are small stones.
I've been to the 9 Ladies, and it's quite amusing the way, quite often when I'm trying to go somewhere, I go straight there. But the 9 Ladies, we did a spiral. We couldn't find the place, and by the time we finished, we were spiraling it, and it was a spiral before we got there. So that the journeys of getting to these places alone can sometimes be quite interesting, going straight there, or maybe you've got to do a little bit of a pilgrimage first before you get there. Yeah.
Ishnock in Ireland, it's we say it's the navel of or the Umphless of Ireland. For many times people would say that they can't find it, and I remember years ago I'd been there, and then I was visiting friends who live nearby who'd been there 2 weeks before, and they said, "Come on, we'll go again." We could not get there. We could not. It was like there was keep out signs. There was beware of the bull sign, and they go, but we're here, we've lost that disorientation. Then I'd heard other people said that they would always get lost, that somehow certain places have either not today, or there's that sense of pilgrim challenge, that it's not going on along a straight road. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, it's a bit like that stone circle I found that wasn't even on the map on that when I walk in Wales. Was was not on the map, and they're always marked on the maps on the Ordnance Survey. The size of Ordnance Survey we get, they're always on there.
So Vincent says, I'll be looking for stone circle lore books after this. It's really interesting. And then Blake says, oh, spirals. Not many stone circles like the States, but reminds me of how much I love labyrinths. And we do have those, even if modern, just as sacred in their own way. Yeah, I have a labyrinth in my garden. And that's a really powerful, I suppose, a meditative tool to have that. And John Maddox says, I made a little circle recently. Beautiful. And then there's, anyway, somebody shared a website, the modernantiquarian.com. I assume that's about stone circles as well.
Well, very lucky that about 10-minute drive from me, there's a stone circle was built for the millennium, and it's in a private garden, private field owned by a private family. And I wrote to them just before lockdown and said, can we use your stone circle? Would you like some druids at your stone circle? Would that be appropriate? And they was very pleased that I'd asked, and they were very welcoming. And I went to go and see it, and they said they'd be happy for us to use it. And then lockdown happened, so we haven't used it yet. So we're hoping to use it at Samhain.
Brilliant. Pat makes an interesting point. I don't think, and she's right, I agree with you, Pat. I don't think things need to be ancient to be sacred. If they're used as sites, they are charged. Absolutely. I think that's really, really important. And then Salve Furishi says, Longmeg stands about 250 feet from her circle of daughters to the southwest and nearly aligns with the midwinter sunset. Lovely. And then Longmeg herself has spirals adorning her. Oh. And then Pat says, you never agree with me. What's wrong? I do, Pat. I often agree with you. And then Jules says, it happened the opposite way. On the way to a sacred site, magical pointers can happen that astound. That's true. Absolutely. So this is the mystery, that... And when you're open to a journey, whatever it is, the unexpected happens, and it's absolutely wonderful to be able to experience those.
And to be open to what you find. And I never have any expectations when I go for a walk in the woods each day. I've been to those woods so often, but I never expect, it's never the same. And when you go to a stone circle, you might have looked in the book about what it is, but you never know what you're going to get when you get there. Like my sister had a blood sacrifice. We didn't expect that. Things happen. Yeah.
Somebody said, when I visited Ishnup, my friend and I went round the Catstone in the opposite direction as the rest of the tour. We felt it was the way to approach it. Each time there's no one way. It's at that particular time you do it. Pat says, I once spent an hour with friends driving around looking for Baymore stone circles. We couldn't find them. And with other folk, we go straight there. I've been to Baymore. It's a fascinating place in Northern Ireland. There are many, many stone circles in the one area. Small, but really, really fascinating. So it's... Again, I know people have talked about being in Glastonbury and heading off to go up the Tor, and then they get to the bottom and they get the sense, no, I'm not to go today. And I think you said that about trees, that sometimes they're welcoming and sometimes they're not. A bit like people, it's about tuning into a place, and today is not the time for you to do this, or maybe it is, and being aware of that and being sensitive to it.
Yeah, it's like I said, no preconceived conceptions on anybody. I mean, I always believe when I go down to Glastonbury or Anglesey, I'm meeting Druids, that I've never met a Druid I don't like yet, and always been well received, and it's always felt very welcoming. And I've never yet, because quite often I go on my own, and I've always been made to feel that I'm not on my own, but there's always somebody saying, well, come over here, come join us. So it's always nice that you're made to feel welcome, even when you're on your own.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
I remember my first time going to Glastonbury and experiencing that, not knowing as an Irish person, how's this going to be? And then just feeling at home. And Pat says, sometimes I go to a site like Tara and I don't feel what I hoped to feel. She said, Tara's not the site that's wrong, I think, or me, maybe just the time. Well, I think, just like pieces of music resonate, you like, or works of art, even if they're great works of art, you kind of go, that doesn't move me in any way, or this does. And I think it's the same with places. And it's not that there's something wrong with either of us, either the place or you. But
I think they also have their own energies that go up and down. Sometimes you can go to a tree or a sacred circle or anywhere, and the vibes are different one day to another. And sometimes they can be, yeah, come in, we want to play. And sometimes they can be, you know what, leave us alone today. We're a bit tired today, or we don't want visitors today. And I think stone circles have that as well. And like I said, like Pat was saying, they don't have to be sacred places, any space.
Yeah.
When you're listening to it. Like when I go to a tree and I want maybe to make an arm stick with my tree, and I look underneath and there's nothing there. I say, you've got nothing for me today, no. And then I'll hold a branch and I say, do you want to come with me? I'm going to make a wand with you. We're going to have adventures. And you either get the vibes yes or no. And yeah, so it's feeding into what the space wants to give you that day. And I've been to Avebury and not felt anything. And I've been to Avebury and I felt really excited. And I've been to Stonehenge. My first visit to Stonehenge, I was about 11. And we was on a school trip going down to Poole and in Dorset on the coast. And our school trip stopped at Stonehenge. And in those days, it was just a lay-by the side of the road. This coach stopped. We all got off the coach, went to the stones, sat on the stones, ate our sandwiches. And there was loads falling down because they hadn't built them up there. And I could sit, they didn't care if you sat on them. And it was all very open. And so I was very lucky to go to Stonehenge before it was made into this site that it is today. And I just found it a very nice place to sit and have a picnic. I didn't get that much from it. And the first time I went back to it, I actually thought, I'm not paying that to get in there. And they had some stones in the visitor centre that were made of the same stones at the stone circle. And we sat on those and we got as much from those stones as walking around with a load of sad people wearing headphones, walking around and not even able to touch the stones. And I didn't feel like I needed to go any further. And that's when I discovered Avebury. I didn't know Avebury existed before then. We were driving down the road and it suddenly said Stone Circle. We parked in a car park, walked through, and there were all the stones at Avebury to go and touch and feel and be a part of. And that was magical. And yet I went to Stonehenge again for a dawn ritual with OBOD at the last summer gathering we had. And that was magical again.
Yeah.
With 100 people there doing ritual. So watching the mist come off the dams and the hares and yeah.
Beautiful. Zane says, there are times where I simply get no response, but I send my greeting anyway. Sometimes quite a while goes by from the time I started greeting until I get a response. Perhaps it's just the spirits of place watch you for a time before they are comfortable with getting acquainted. Absolutely. That may very well be the case. Yeah. Like when you meet people. Or, you're walking along a country road and there's a horse in the field and you want to connect, and it's waiting until the time is right that to have that connection. And we bide our time, we take stock, and we wait and check. So Blake says, this reminds me that we do have stone walls in the indigenous people built here in New England. They often are shaped like snakes and point towards water. So that's interesting. And then Vincent says, sometimes it's not the place, but the time entwined with the place.
I mean, time can be quite funny when you go to these places as well, can't it? You can sit somewhere and you think you've only been there for 5 minutes, and you suddenly realise you've been there an hour or more. So yeah, time warps in these places as well. But that can be even at my favourite tree or my favourite sit spot, and you just, or when you're doing something you enjoy, time just goes fast, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does, and it's lovely to sometimes to lose that sense of time. Just that connection with nature, or wherever it is, a stone circle or beside a tree, and then it's that break, stepping outside into another space, another place, another dimension. It's just and so healing and renewing. It's like what happened to you and your sister on that challenging walk.
Yeah, that's what the wonder of nature and the magic of it as well.
What would you say you're grateful for, Chrissie?
Oh, I didn't think of this one as I've been thinking. What am I grateful for? I'm grateful that I'm very healthy and that I'm able to do my walking, and that I have a very positive attitude. I've seen how sad people can get and how low people can get and don't seem able to get themselves out of a downward spiral. And I've been there sometimes, but I've always managed to pull myself out quite quickly. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my mind, that even though it forgets things, it's quite good at sponging things up when it needs to. So there's a lot to be grateful for. I've not been one of these to write down a gratitude list every day. I've thought about it and I thought, I can't be that. But yeah.
I think practicing gratitude for me is just a wonderful exercise. I'm curious as to, when you're in that downward spiral, what do you do to help you come up?
I go for a walk. There's a saying that says there's no ill that cannot be solved by a good walk can't solve, or something like that. Being out in nature. When I was working really hard, I was doing 3 or 4 jobs, and working evenings. My sister said to me, she said, "You're very busy. I'll walk the dogs this weekend." And I go, no, if I don't get out, I will break. And so, I go out and I can just sit. And I think being with trees, I think that, is it Chinese or Japanese, say that it's the therapy that they have. I mean, the trees breathe in our carbon dioxide and give us back oxygen. So it's not just airy-fairy. There's some science behind it as well. Yeah, that helps. And talking, community, having people to go to help voice things through. Sometimes just having a sounding board. Yeah. The alcohol. I did go to alcohol when I was very young, but I learned that. Went to the alcohol route when I was younger. Certainly found that wasn't the answer.
No. It certainly doesn't deal with depression. Someone just says, sadly, we just lost the wonderful Archdruid of Avebury, Terry Dobney, to the Summerlands, who kept great ancestral wisdom of the lineage stones and our connection with them. R.I.P. Okay, I didn't, yeah. Oh yeah, it's Eimear says it's Shinrin-yoku in Japan. Doctors actually prescribe forest walking for health. I know myself that that is so beneficial for me. If I'm upset, or I can ask them to, clear this stress, this anxiety, whatever it is that's going on. Really, really soothing and comforting, and also that notion of breathing in. So I will stand with my back to a tree, and I will share the breath with the tree, and it's absolutely beautiful and just so energizing and cleansing.
Yeah, breathing with the tree. I'd forgotten I do that, and just like you say, it's energizing, cleansing, and remembering happy times also helps. Putting yourself back to a time when you're really happy. I wear my Arwen around my neck, and that reminds me that there's a community out there that's given me a lot of comfort. So, and you'll often find me. I haven't played with this tonight, but often, because I don't want to upset the microphones, but it's something I often hold. Yeah. And inner strength as well. Working a lot on mindfulness and inner strength these days. So just touching my heart, things come from my heart, and giving comfort that way, knowing that deep down we did a threshold activity the other week. I've joined a group where it's called Groove.
Yeah.
And you go along and they play music and you dance like nobody's watching, and nobody is watching you. They're all having a great time. It's called a Groove. And I find that is really, really healing. So you send you the Spotify list afterwards, and I just had to put it on, and I can remember what I was doing. And one of the dances is the chakra. It's a very earthy beat, and she was getting you to shake all the way through each of your chakras in your body, all the way through, with this very earthy beat. And that can help clear a lot of the energy, the fug that you can get just daily fug. So that's a really good way of making myself feel better again. Yeah, dancing.
Absolutely. I love dancing. And of course, I haven't done any dancing since lockdown. I jive and Argentine tango. Hopefully, it's going to start in October when our restrictions are being lifted. Hopefully, if things go well in the next month. And for me, that's absolute soul food. Somebody else, Sarah, says, just lying down in the forest looking up. And Eimear says that she's talking about the Shinrin-yoku. The term emerged in Japan in the 1980s as a physiological and psychological exercise called Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. Okay. Or taking in the forest atmosphere. The purpose was twofold: to offer an antidote to tech boom burnout, and to inspire residents to reconnect with and protect the country's forests. Absolutely. And then Gail has put in a link that GPs prescribing, social prescribing in Wales. So they're prescribing time in nature for some patients instead of medication. And then Pat says, I love to gather up fallen branches and have a campfire. It feels like a great way to clear and lift my energy. And fire is a brilliant cleansing element. You can either put things that represent whatever it is that you want to clear into the fire, and you can put something else that you want to call into the fire. And very, very energizing. And of course, this is the important thing around, on the Bardic Grade, why, it's around connecting with the elements and discovering the power there is with each one of them.
I'm an air and water sign. I'm born on the cusp of Scorpio Libra, and I find fire very different, very challenging. I mean, I think I was given the very first Druid Grade Gorseth I went to. They gave me the candle to light, wouldn't light. Somebody else lit it straight away. Gave it to me, went straight out. I struggle with fire. I'm working on it. Yeah. It's one of the elements that's still is a challenge. Although I've always, one of the things with fire energy that I looked into was it's not just the fire part of it. It's if you your determination, and also if you say you're going to do something, you actually do it, and keep to that, and that's fiery as well. So I've got those bits. It's just the actual. I can't start a fire. I got a fire pit the other year, and we had a ritual in my garden, and I said, "You're going to have to start the fire." I said, because I've tried starting fires and they just go out. One of these days I will be able to start a fire and it will stay lit, and I will be able to light a candle, it will stay lit, and things like that. It will happen.
It's funny. I don't have bad hair days. I don't wash my hair, so I don't style it or anything. So I never have an issue with my hair. Not now, as being this old. But I understand that I have bad fire days and good fire days. There's some days where I can light a fire. I have a photograph of me that I love, and it's on my website, where I'm wearing a cloak in a forest and there's a fire in front of me, and it's not photoshopped. It's just, and I did it with a fire stick, and I had everything set up, but I was doing a bushcraft course with my kids, and it just sparked, and I was so excited. I thought, I have this. This is now, I'll be able to light fires forevermore. And of course, no. On certain days, the fire won't light or won't take. So I'm hearing a number of people. I struggle. This is Erin. I struggle with fire too. I'm Libra, closer to Virgo. I have great comfort with air, fire, earth, and water, but fire challenges me. I'm stuck in swirling mud. And then Pat says, my fire pit filled with rain and became a bird bath. Wild campfires and fields are more fun. So you need to have a chat with Bridget, and that's really interesting because she's the goddess of fire and water. Julia Foyle says, I'm a Scorpio Libra cusp. My candles go out too. I went through 7 matches trying to light my candle for Alfred online ritual, and that was indoors. I'm a Leo, so although my moon is in Pisces, so I get on well with fire. Sue Cowie says, fire is the spirit. Sometimes the spirit has just no energy. No matter what you do, it won't burn. Perhaps, yeah. That's part of the magic and the mystery of working with elements. How, what's more simple than lighting a match and lighting a candle? And yet, sometimes you just can't do it. It won't. I remember doing my shamanic training. We had to go outside in the dark and light a fire. And we had to stay out until we lit it. I was kissing this fire. I came back and my face was black because I knew I can't come in until I master this. So it's a great challenge, but I enjoy it.
That's one good thing with the bardic grade, is it gets you to be more balanced, doesn't it? And that's going to be my topic when we do our next bardic banter, is the balance. So you can go into bardic feeling that you're all air or all water, and you come out hopefully with a little bit more balance of all 4 elements. But like I said, it was still working. Actually, if Sue remembers, we had our ritual last weekend, and my charcoal wouldn't light. She actually had to put her charcoal with mine to get the incense to burn for our ritual last weekend, if she remembers. Yeah. And I had my big fire burner lighter as well. It's like a little flamethrower. Still wouldn't.
It's great that you're sharing these challenges, because I think for our viewers, it's sometimes like that. You're a druid, you're a mentor. Yeah, everything will be easy for you now, and it's not, because it's that we're constantly meeting new challenges, and that we're at an edge, and that you keep doing it to engage and not give up. And I just think that's wonderful to be able to to talk about this and to share this. And who knows, hopefully you will gain some mastery at some point.
It will happen, yeah. I mean, like I said, there's no hierarchy in OBOD. I mean, I'm very easily, not the right word, but there are lots of people that are far more knowledgeable about all sorts of things than I am. And I'm still learning. And even when I learn something, I can forget it the next day. So it's constant learning. So. It's
Michelangelo said when he was 87, ancora imparo, I'm still learning. And when I came across that, we had a plaque in the garden, and I thought, oh, that is so reassuring. I remember my mother telling me when she was in her late 20s, I was a child, I'm too old to learn and to change, and you have to. And she's 85 now and she's learning. But, it's that you don't give up. And that notion that, old dogs and new tricks, it's nonsense. It's you can always learn. And it keeps you from being so arrogant, that you know it all, but that life is dull if you know everything. It's what about the excitement of the mystery and saying, I've learned this. Oh, it's wonderful. And then you realize, yes, but what this does, this piece of learning opens a door to more potential for learning. And that makes life very, very exciting. No matter how old you are, that you still continue to have curiosity and fascination and mystery revealed, and then realizing actually there's more and more and more to be revealed. I think that's just what's so exciting about living.
Life is magical. You just got to look for it, haven't you? It's always there.
Yeah.
And I'm always, my path these last few years has seemed really easy. I don't seem to have many obstacles that get in my way of anything. And I think it's because I've given over to the universe now. Things will happen, and they always happen for a reason. And if I'm on the right path, it will be easy. When things start getting really difficult, then that's when sometimes they're there as barriers to stop you, but other times I think, well, I haven't had that many lately. I say to my sister quite often, I say, God, we're so lucky. We do this, we do that, and we're financially okay, and we've got a wonderful family that we see all the time. We don't have any family dropouts or fallouts, and I've got a lovely group of friends, and I mean, like tonight, I was saying to a few people, I'm really nervous tonight that know me, and a lot of them have turned up. I can't actually see the chat. I don't know if it's on Maidens. It's just that I don't see it. But you've been telling me that they're there, and I just know they're there because they want to be there to help me, and so that love's there, and things are easier, aren't they? Another thing to be grateful for.
It's lovely. When I had Ferdiad as my guest last week, and he was talking about his experience with COVID. And I asked him, what did he learn from it? And the one thing he says that I'm loved. And I think that, these people who've turned up for you, knowing that you were going to be on, I don't reveal who's coming on, so you obviously told them, but they're there for you. And, that is such, yes, you are fortunate. And it's just lovely that we have that people turn up in support, and and I love how people come here and join in the conversation. Cindy says, I wish I could be at home giving 100% attention to this chat. So wonderful. Very much looking forward to re-listening. It's those kind of things, and it's okay, we're talking, but then there are other people who are contributing to the conversation, maybe asking questions, so and adding to the conversation with their own. Sue Cowie says, I wouldn't have missed it for the world, Chrissie. So and then Channing says, every time I see rain or snow, I wonder if anyone else is witnessing the same beautiful magic that I am. And I think they're lovely. It's a lovely thought and a reflection to have, when you look at the moon, particularly in the moon, because, it's up in the sky, and knowing that there are other people too, looking at it in awe and fascination and wonder, and maybe connecting with somebody they know who's also looking at the moon. Pat says a group hug. It's that. And it's just lovely to have this platform, for you to be able to talk about what it is you're talking about, and first to share a conversation. And Gabrielle says, isn't everyone fortunate though? Some people go for a less resistant path and others go for the rough one. We're all blessed. I suppose it's being able to recognize it. I think sometimes when you're in a lot of pain, it sometimes is very, very hard to recognize that you're fortunate. I think sometimes that's really hard to, and so the practice of reflecting on gratitude, I find that's something that keeps me on track when all else it seems to be collapsing around me. It's like, okay, what can I be grateful for? And if it's that small thing, finding the joy of seeing a ladybird. I saw a few ladybirds this summer, and there was a time when there were lots and lots of ladybirds. But it's interesting. I had a dream the other night that I was in my camper van with somebody, and my shoes fell off my feet, off the van and into a passing river. This doesn't make sense. But anyway, I had to take somebody someplace. And then I decided I'm going to come back up and I'm going into the river to see if I can retrieve my shoes. And I came to a bridge and I looked in, and there was a canal beside the river that was shallow, and there were my shoes. And I went in and I walked in the water, but it was shallow. And I picked up my shoe, and it was full of ladybirds. And then there were a queen ladybird. I don't know if there is a queen ladybird, but there's yellow. And then the larvae. And I woke up just feeling so renewed from that dream. So it's those kind of things. You think, okay, I dreamt about ladybirds. Now I'm nourished by that. And it's those little things that to keep us when other things are not going. And I suppose, these last 18 months have been so challenging for us. Alenia says, when my brother was in the army, I used to tell him to look at the sky and know that I was looking at it too. I think that's really, really important. We're all brothers and sisters. Oh, oops, I'm missing my, let me get up here. We're all brothers and sisters connected no matter where we are, though, through nature. And that's Druidism at its heart. I think so. And I think that's important. It's just to be mindful of it in times of stress and times of hardship. I think sometimes it can be hard to keep track of that or to keep mindful of it.
Yeah, I mean, that community thing is so important when you're starting to see yourself spiral down, to know there are people out there that care about you. One of the things that I did over the weekend, which is Caradwyn was calling me, and also sense of community that I got, a huge memory for me to look back on, is we all sat around a campfire. There's about 60 of us, and Dave the Bard was there. And just to name drop, just because I can, and he was there, and he was so, I don't know, he got up and he sang 3 songs, and this was a nice Stedford evening, so everyone was a lot of people were going to get up and sing songs, but David just sang, and you think, how can I follow that? And I could feel it going around the circle. How are we going to follow that? That's Dave just sang there, and that was brilliant and wonderful, and there's only little old me, and I'm not so, I could feel that sort of things going around. And I don't know what it was, but there was like I jumped off my seat and I said, would you all like to sing? And they all went, yes. And it was, I taught them a song, and I'll sing it. Should I?
Do, please.
Yes. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me such pleasure, and I love you so. And that's a round, and you can sing it in the round. And it's very much how I was feeling. It was surrounded by dear friends, and I wanted to tell them how I felt, and I loved them. And I got them to do a song repeat first until they learnt the words, and then they sang it as a round, and then I split. But they sang it all together, and then I split them in half, so one half started and the other started. And I'd orchestrated all this, and then I shut up and I walked around the circle, and I was surrounded by love and warmth and companionship, and it was just magical. And so when I hold on to this now, when I'm feeling down, I go back to that moment, surrounded by warmth and love and companionship and druidry at its purest. And it was that was pure magic. And thank you, Caradwyn, because I suspect that's one of the gifts you gave me when we was there.
That's beautiful. Gabriella says we need more singing in the fire chats. So will you sing that again? Will you sing it 3 times?
Only if you do it as a song repeat, Eimear.
I can't, because we'll be the echo.
Oh, all right.
That's my excuse.
I might have to have a little bit of mead first. Okay. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me such pleasure, and I love you so. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me such pleasure, and I love you so. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me such pleasure, and I love you so. See, this is where I need a voice, because I can't breathe in the right places.
Oh, it was just beautiful. You have such a gentle voice, Chrissie. That was absolutely beautiful. Jules says, keep your gratitude higher than your expectations. And she says that's a quote from a blues singer whose name escapes her. But I think that is so, so important. And there was a comment earlier, but about it's finding the beauty and the things to be grateful in the simplicity, in the simple things, not the big events or the big magical events, but the simplicity of a flower, or like I said, just seeing a ladybird, or listening to a bird, or spotting a little sapling. You know, it's those kind of things that they give me a rush of joy. Salve says, in the stillness of contemplation and reverence, with humbleness and greatest majesty, I call the names of all beloved ones to wrap their loving light around your feet as you tread softly on the forest floor. May you all be blessed with serenity, bathed in luminescence, and greeted by the lords of light and the celestial beings of the high air with exaltation. May you all feast well on love and joyous celebration in the great hall, sipping softly on the sacred whispering chant. That is beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I imagine that's your own bardic creation. And Zane says, that's lovely. I sang it in the round with you and it really worked. Brilliant. And Channing says, lovely, and I'm happy to add it to my bag of songs. So it's a circle of love. This is so much love right now. We are all in a cloud of love. So it's again, it's like feeling grateful for that, for you having agreed to sing it. So that is absolutely beautiful.
Caradwin made me do it.
Oh, yes. So we're coming to the end of our time, Chrissie. It's been just such a joy talking to you. And usually my last question is what's your favorite season? What's your favorite festival, when we look at the wheel of the year?
Yeah. About 30 years ago, I discovered a bloke called Eckhart Tolle who said, live in the now.
Yeah.
And I've been working on that for 30 years. So my favorite season is now.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah. And as for rituals, I can never remember which one it is, but there's one ritual where one person says one thing in one ear and another one says something in the other ear. And I love that. I can't remember which ritual it is, but having two people saying two different things in your ear, it's just amazing. I can't remember which ritual it is. And we've done them all this year. But, yeah, I love that. I shall have to find out which ritual it's in, because it's not in the last 3 or 4 that we've done, because I would have picked it out.
I don't know which one that is either.
And I think you're given a gift of a stone at the end of it as well.
Oh, that's the Bealtaine one.
Is it? No.
Yeah, so it's the masculine and the feminine coming in.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously we do it in a different way, but yes, that's it.
Yeah.
And Sue says we did that on Zoom, didn't we? So I imagine that was the Bealtaine one you did. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. I used to miss Bealtaine a lot because I was working then, and it was one of my busiest times of year. So that's not a ritual I've done very often. So it's probably one of the reasons. But
Well, Chrissie, it's been such a joy talking to you. And Stefan Macaba, I think Stefan lives in Louth in Ireland. What a kind soul you are, Chrissie. And isn't that a lovely thing to say that? And I agree. So this was a beautiful tonight. Thank you so much for sharing with us. That's from Vincent. So it's been just lovely talking to you. And I look forward to seeing you sometime in the physical, and hopefully, 2022. So fingers crossed for a way out of this. So thank you so much. I'm going to just stay where you are, so switch you off, and then I'll just say goodbye to everybody here. So thank you all for being here this evening and for your wonderful comments. It's just such a joy to talk to Chrissie. So I look forward to seeing you next week when I introduce my next guest. So have a good weekend, be safe and be well, and enjoy the rest of your evening or morning, afternoon or day, wherever you are. And till we meet again, slán go fóill.